Hey, what's up? This is Dillio coming to you with another video. And in this video, we're going to talk about what do you do when the dream takes longer than expected? What do you do when the dream takes longer than expected? Before I get started, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. It helps me out. Help me grow to 100,000 subscribers. I'm trying to push there, and I need your help to do that. So here's the background. So, you know, for a while, I was kind of digging through some CDs. Actually, I'm digging some CDs right now, thinking about what I was going to talk about because I was supposed to film this yesterday. And I was just going through old beat CDs. You know, I don't know if you remember these are. I hope you're not too young to know what these are. Probably everybody still knows what these are. But I used to burn, you know, I used to make beats on Free Loops, and I used to burn CDs and make songs and listen to them all the time and, you know, pass them out to certain friends and stuff like that. And the truth of the matter is that at that time, back in high school or even college, I never thought that it would, you know, take me this long to achieve a certain level of things like that. You know, I thought I might have been, you know, and you just kind of reflect, you know, you're listening to stuff, you kind of reflect how you feel. It's like, dang, you know, I still got a little bit of ways to go in this. And, you know, I thought I'd be further ahead, thought I would have made the right connect. And I've connected with a lot of people, but none quite where it could change my life per se. And it's taken longer than I expected. The dream is taking longer than I expected. You know, I thought I'd be a full-time music producer, artist, those kind of things, you know, and those things that can still happen, you know. And I think it's important to know that, you know, I am doing it in some sort of regard. You know, I've been growing this channel for a long time, and it's still possible. So it's not like it's all lost. But sometimes, you know, when you take a look at some of your old works, you know, I mean, I got tons of CDs here, and you know, you take a look at your old works, you're like, wow, I would have thought that this would have turned out that way, you know. And it's interesting because, you know, I feel I have an advantage, or I feel like I have a special perspective on this because, you know, we have a lot of YouTubers that are online on this platform and everywhere that says, oh yeah, you know, to how to make it, you got to do this and all that. Then their credibility becomes they came, or they achieved a certain level of success. They might have had these placements, or they got this many amount of subscribers, or they got all this other stuff, you know. And, you know, while their story was being built, you know, you don't see that part of it. You know, we don't know the certain struggles and personal things that people go through. And, you know, and thankfully, maybe some of those things are good things that we haven't gone through ourselves. So we don't really know the full picture. We see the polished end product. We see the polished YouTube videos. We see the polished numbers, the polished product, the polished communities around, but we don't see the before. We don't see all of that stuff. And so, you know, I think that as for me, as I'm still in this journey, as I'm still in this process for as long as I've been, I'm still in this process. I think I have a special perspective, and I think I have a certain credibility of showing you guys that, hey, I'm still here. Things aren't exactly the way I want them to be, and I'm still moving forward. So, you know, the truth is, you know, we hear about a lot of people's journeys, and it's like, okay, wow, I want that to be my journey. I want something like that happening in my life. But the truth is, everybody's journey is their own, and it's not going to look the same way. And I said this before in previous videos, if it doesn't look like theirs, doesn't necessarily must mean that it's the wrong journey. We all have to find our own journeys. And, you know, the way that they got success, even though we do all these little tidbits on Instagram, I see all these little tidbits and tips and everything, may not necessarily work. It doesn't mean that it won't work, but it does not necessarily mean it will. And I wish more YouTubers and more personalities would address that. But that's their business. I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to keep it real with you. I'm still here with it, you know. And you know, everything to this point is before the dream happening. Now I've achieved some things. You know, I can't say that I haven't produced for tracks, or I haven't sold beats on BeatStars, or made a few good YouTube videos or anything like that. You know, there is something there, and I think it's important not to disregard or to devalue what you have. You know, don't disregard or devalue the audience you have, or you may not have much of an audience. So that's where you have to really value it yourself. And so, you know, I think that you have to ask yourself this, you know, when the dream takes longer than you expect. Ask yourself, is the world the same world now today as it was when you first had that dream? you know, when I first wanted to be a music producer and stuff like that, you know, it was all about tape cassettes and CDs and hard sales and stuff like that. There wasn't the internet that it is now. There wasn't the YouTube and Spotify's and the DistroKids and CD Babies in the way that they are now, or the Shazam platforms. You know, back then it was about the more traditional format. You know, you link up with the right artist, you get with the right label, and your life label, and your life changes. But it's not necessarily the case, you know. And you have to ask yourself, okay, that was a different world than my dream started. So you have to really adapt your dream. You have to kind of rewrite it a little bit and see what it is now. You know, I now understand producers are trying to come on YouTube and build channels like that, or some producers who have already been established don't even really bother, or they're still trying to learn how to work the new platform themselves. So in that regard, you know, if you've been on this platform or other platforms long enough, have you actually a step ahead, you know, in that regard. So you really have to redefine and say, okay, if that's what the dream was 10, 20 years ago, what does this dream look like now? And to really ask yourself, is there a way to apply that in today's world? Because chances are, if you're anything like me, the whole climate of it all has changed. We have the whole COVID situation right now, so a lot of people are still trying to figure things out and stuff like that. So it's very important to redefine the dream and write it down, get it in writing and stuff like that, so you can really see it out. Because you can think it in your head, but until you write it down, it doesn't seem to become manifest until you can write it down. And I know that's not for everybody. I'm just speaking for those who are still in the grind right now and stuff like that. There are plenty of people who have made it and they didn't have to write anything down. But I know, as for me, as someone who is still climbing and still trying to pursue and learn more and to grow and to figure out how to connect better, you know, I like to write things down and just write down, what does this look like, and then revisualize, what does that look like, you know, see it in my head, what does this look like, where am I at, you know. So, and another thing is that I think one of the things is that when the dream takes longer than expected, it's not to devalue yourself. I actually think when you're feeling those emotions about it taking too long or stuff like that, it's time to slow down. You look on Facebook, it's time to slow down. It's time to slow down certain medias that show people in positions you want to be in, because if your headspace is not in the right place, it can be discouraging, because you've seen all these people having all these things in their lives, all these kids and all this stuff, you know, in this quarantine situation. You see a lot of families being together. You know, you're on Sunday, you're seeing couples happily giving their messages and stuff like that, and you know, and you're by yourself and you're like, okay, what am I doing here? But at the same time, the isolation provides a perfect opportunity and perfect environment to solely focus on your passion, to solely focus on your goals, and to solely focus on developing you. You still have value. Just because you ain't with somebody or you don't got somebody in your corner, as nice as that would be and as convenient that would be, and not to be in this isolation situation, sometimes you just got to grind, turn on your equipment and go to work, you know, because if you sit still and focus on what you don't have, which is something that always needs to be reminded and practice, if you focus on that, it'll slow you down in your growth. And I'm talking about those whose dream is taking longer than they expected, not those who's like, yeah, I made it. Because there's a whole lot, like I said again, there's a whole lot of people who have made it. There's a whole lot of people who have achieved things, and now they have a bunch of stories, but there's still a gap between, yeah, all this worked for me and it working for you. And I'm more concerned on what is going to work for you, instead of all this worked for me, yeah, you know, and all these. I mean, the stories are cute, but the stories don't get you paid. You know, the stories don't help you connect and build your audience and build your brand. You know, it feels good to listen, but what about the actual actions and steps? See, I'm talking about the actual actions and steps. Now, I've tried a lot of actions and steps, and each one of them was with the belief system that, okay, I'll try this, and then if this doesn't work, I'll try something else, try this again, try it a few times and see. So in the meantime, there's another action step you can do. Is when the dream takes longer than you think it should, is that study what you're doing and see if it's yielding any results, and if there are new things you can try. Always talk about new things you can try, new courses and stuff like that. And I know there's a lot of courses with a lot of fluff out there. There's just so much fluff, especially on the internet. They say go look it up on the internet. Some things you can look up on the internet and learn how to do. For instance, you can look up how to fix up a faucet in the bathroom. There's only one way or a certain amount of ways to do it, and there's certain nuances that you got to know to finagle that to make it work. And you know, when it comes to something like this, or some level of success, or a certain deal, you know, it's not really one way like that, because we don't know who's involved. We don't know who we're talking to. We don't know how much they care, how much they don't care, if they want to, or in their mood to link up with you, or they're not in the mood. There's so many variables, and there's so many things that are out of control. And and a lot of people don't want to talk about it, but I think that people are on the grind, and things do just kind of work out because they put their, not necessarily because they put themselves in a position, but they continue to grow. They continue to work on their craft, and it gets around the right person, and then it's the whole right place, right time thing. And I never really liked that, because even though it may be a truthful situation, I never really liked that, because that's not really an element you can control. You can't will that, but I do know that, when you grind on a platform like this one, and you keep doing what you got to do, certain people show up and help you out. Certain people who see you're serious about your craft come through and help you out and hook you up. And I think that's success right there. I think that's success. I think that's love. And that can happen. You don't have to have a big deal for that. You just have to be consistent and show the world that, hey man, I'm serious about this thing and I love this thing, whether I'm able to do this full time or not. I come home from work and I go do this. I come home from work and I build and I network and I create. And I make these videos, and I constantly think of ways, so those are the things that I do when the dream takes longer than I expect it to. And the last thing I'm going to say is this, that I know that there are people who are where I want to be, and I just want to rub elbows with them, and I just want to touch the hem of their garment, and somehow that magical power or whatever worked out that they have in their life despite their faults. And no one ever talks about their flaws or anything like that, which is very interesting, because things can work out, and things have worked out in their favor despite their faults, because nobody's perfect. And sometimes it's like, oh, I just want to just touch that hem or that garment so I can just soak in whatever is that workout, that life change. But it doesn't work like that, So that's where I'm at with that. So I hope that encourages somebody. Last thing I wanted to say was this, and I kind of got off on a tangent, is that, I know there are people that I want to be, that are in positions I want to be, but I also know that there are people who probably want to be in a situation that I'm in. There's probably someone who wishes they had a rack of stuff, and all I can say is that it's possible. Yes, you can. It can be done. There is no special magic here. But one thing I can tell you is that if you're consistent, you keep doing it, and you keep doing it when it doesn't feel good, and you keep doing it when you're hearing all this stuff on YouTube and all these different opinions about what you should do to make it, and then when you hit the networking events and all this other stuff, when you try to hire these courses or all this other stuff, and you hear all this stuff, as long as you keep doing, you eventually will grow your equipment. You're going to be in a position. You may not be in a position. I was in a position not be able to get equipment for a very long time, and I'm still not quite all the way there where I want to be. But I remember there was no way in where I could get a keyboard or this audio interface or any of that stuff, but I did eventually adapt, and I did learn how, and that's a level of success. So I know we're going long, but I just hope that helps out. This has been another independent artist empowerment video. I hope there's some nuggets that have been able to help you as you go through your day, as your musical journey, and we'll go from there. So make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, comment if you like more content like this. Let me know. DM me at Dillio T2K, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out. This live stream has been brought to you by Aquarium, chopped vocal sample packs by Dillio. Take a swim in the aquarium of sound. Quick facts, there's over 100 samples, 200 megabytes of sound, filter vocal loops, and vocal one-shots. And last thing but not least is that all these samples are 100% royalty-free for your projects. If you blow up using them, that's all you. There's some demos that you can check out at DillioT2K.com so you can hear it in action. And now let's get back to the live stream.